Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Here we are. Woo! The 18th Annual Heart of the City Festival, and my name is Teresa Vandertoen. I'm the Associate Artistic Producer of the festival, and I'm so pleased to be here in front of the mic, in front of a live audience here at the Lost and Found Cafe on East Hastings Street. And thank you, it's our second day of the festival. I'm so really pleased to be here and to be here to introduce our MC. But first of all, I do want to acknowledge that we are here in downtown Eastside, Vancouver, and to acknowledge that we're on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and we are grateful that we're able to live, work, and play and write here in Vancouver's downtown Eastside. So I will introduce our wonderful MC. Our fearless leader, Gilles Serene, who is the president of the Carnegie Community Centre and also one of the, I guess, keepers of the writing forum here in the downtown Eastside. So thanks, Gilles, for doing that. And come on up and welcome the folks. Have a good show.
Okay, thank you all so much, and thank you for the nice welcome, Teresa. But I am not the president of Carnegie Community Centre. I'm the president of the Carnegie Community Centre Association. So just want to make sure everybody got that. Really happy to be here. I believe we're starting this evening with some readings from fire writers, and I'm not too sure who is the first person from Fire Writers who's going to read. Who's reading first?
I thought I would come up and introduce the group.
Oh, okay. So okay, I'd like to welcome up here Phoenix Winter, who leads Fire Writers, and Phoenix will introduce the writers. Phoenix has been leading Fire Writers for how long? Many
10 years.
For 10 years. Fire writers meet every Tuesday at Carnegie Learning Centre and work together, write together, play together, have coffee together, go out and have writing retreats together and do multiple writing events. And so thank you so much for everything that you do, Phoenix. We really appreciate all your good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilles. Have to wait for the obligatory cleaning of the mic. It's now a ceremony done after every word. I wanted to thank you, Gilles, for introducing the Fire Writers. Anybody's welcome to join us in the Learning Centre from 1 to 2, and then sometimes we go out for coffee after. And thank you all for coming here, and thank you to the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh for allowing us to do what we do on their beautiful unceded lands. And we didn't know that would be first. We're still waiting for one person to come who said he was at Burrard and Davie and on his way straight here. So we'll put him at the end and see if he makes it on time or not. But I'll introduce Geeta first, if she'd like to come up. And she just got back from Toronto visiting relatives, and she's been with our writing group for a bit and has stuff published in the Carnegie newsletters. So I'm thrilled to let her come and read now.
This piece is titled Woman in a Picture. Slightly taken aback, taken in a breath of air, holding something close to herself, clutched with meaning, maybe even surprise attached, as if she had not intended to be a subject of a painting. She might feel inappropriately dressed, as if her garment doesn't drape as elegantly as she would have liked it to. Her hair isn't styled for show and is instead covered by a cloth, almost as if to say, "Why me?" aghast. Thank you. This next piece is titled Wind Chime. Ring to make me smile, to share the breeze with me, add music to the world with the sound of chimes. I'll take a sip of lemonade to feel refreshed and look off into the distance to remember that you are mine. Outside my home you will hang, guests will muse over you when they come over to dine. And this last piece is titled Whales. Whales are beautiful creatures, majestic mammals of the seas and oceans, large and beckoning whale watchers from around the globe, for a glance of any kind. Usually, orcas and humpback whales showing off their fins and mouths, a glance of a tail maybe, splashing hard against the surface of water. Under the ocean, the world's secrets hide, a universe not innate to the human eye, rising and falling with each breath, keeping the ocean's secrets to themselves. Only they can see the riches of the underwater world as home with dreams unknown. Thank you.
Our next reader comes from way, way, way away, all the way from Iran. And we're very thrilled to have him. He's working on writing his autobiography. And this is his first major gig, and it's Roy. So welcome, Roy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rohola, short name Roy. I born in 1957 in my village, Chakhansar, Gilan, Iran. My first memory is my mother had a baby in our bedroom. Second memory I have is I have to go age 5 years old to go to help my aunt in another village. I finished my primary school in 1970. 1970, I moved to Tehran, to capital, to live with a brother for 7 years. I finished my secondary school in Tehran. 1977, I moved to United States of America, Oklahoma. And then I went to Texas, and then Mobile, Alabama. I finished my university by working nighttime and I'm going to school in daytime. My weekend was always in the library because I had a lot of learning to do. 1987, I moved to Montreal, new culture, new language, new start, all over again. 2005, I moved to Vancouver. I worked 3 years as a construction. And 2019, I worked as a security guard and first aid at 10 years. And from 2019, right now, I'm with the Carnegie Centre. I do volunteering in the kitchen as a prepare food. And also right now, I am with Employed to Empower for development and training for a new job. So right now, I am doing Employed to Empower for a mentorship and entrepreneurship. So, I am deciding to work for myself as a self-employed. So I really appreciate it from everybody coming in here today. I am very appreciated Carnegie Centre, been very helpful to me for my computer to get my business on the internet store. So I am working on that for another 7-8 months. So I am really appreciated everybody for coming in here. This is part of my future writing about my autobiography. I thank everybody for being in here, listening to me. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Roy. I was hoping that one of our members, Roger, would be here by now because I was going to try and break up this next little bit, but I don't see him. So I'm reading for someone, for Frank, who wasn't able to be here because he's not vaccinated. So I'm reading his, and he's watching the live stream at Carnegie. So hello to everybody at Carnegie in the live stream. And this is his piece, and apologies if I don't read it the best way it can be read. So this is called Welcome to the Funny Farm. There Are No Heroes, and this is by Frank Molnar. Some people want to believe in heroes. Some people need to believe in heroes. And some people know better. They know better than to believe in heroes at all. They know that to believe in the notion of a hero is an affront to equality. They know that to praise one man and shun the rest is a form of hypocrisy. They know that to celebrate one existence over another is blatantly unfair. Either we are all heroes or none of us are heroes. We can't have it both ways. It is only in the spirit of competition, the spirit of pitting one man against another, that we think we can, however, that we think we can isolate the winner and discard the losers. The winner/loser mentality erodes the spirit of cooperation and only serves to perpetuate the status quo. This is no more evident than in the downtown Eastside, where so many sober-minded individuals descend here daily with their holier-than-thou attitudes and their noses turned up at the people nodding on the pavement with their pants around their ankles and their dignity torn to shreds, thinking that there is no way in hell that they would ever end up becoming a dope fiend, only to find themselves becoming a dope fiend a few months later. It's like water objecting to be squeezed through a funnel, only to be squeezed through a funnel anyway. It's like the living berating the dying for dying, only to realize later that they too must die. The line that we draw in the sand between the people we feel we are and the people we feel will never be is not a firm line. It's simply a line in the sand. I'm not saying that it makes no sense to refrain from drug use. I'm saying that it makes no sense to see oneself or others as heroes for doing so. This is because, at the end of the day, we are never better, worse, or anything more than the people who spat and swore. The people who spat and swore. And that was Frank Molnar's piece. Are you up for reading your piece, Roger? Roger just arrived, the person we were waiting on. Okay, I'll read mine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You want to go ahead?
Okay, it's just a short piece.
Okay.
I wasn't able to really edit the piece that I really wanted to work on.
Come on up.
I got this piece here. And are we allowed to, we're taking off.
This is your mic. Roger, this is your mic. You can take off your mask.
Okay, good. This is just a short piece. And we.
Roger, Mike.
Yeah. No. We did it on last Tuesday. And we're going to do it again today. Just a short piece that I wrote in probably 10 minutes. But it clicked with me somehow. And it's going to be a little bit hard in front of this light. One said, thank you. Okay. One said, give anything. Give anything. I first met one some 15 years ago in the jungles of Peru and Ecuador, collecting various plants, medicines, and other flora used in sacred ceremonies. So it was only the last year that I met him once again, living in what I would have to call a hovel. He became very well known, and although his place was small and often had many, many visitors, we sat, and he seemed to live a very full life. It was on the 6th day we arrived, we enjoyed a very convivial, rewarding time. We not only spent a day together, but his last words before towards oh, I'm so sorry. His only last spent a day towards, but his last words before he joined his entourage of monks, he gave his last words, give everything, give one. And I was off with a great sense of inner peace, but a great sense of inner peace overcame me. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead.
Okay, I'll finish off and round up the fire writers. And I've just got 3 short ones to read. The first one is called In the Secret of My Heart. My heart is a locked box. The clasp is broken, mended, fragile, waiting for your tender touch to open hinges held fast with rust. The box, dented, battered, bashed against too many uncaring souls. The next one is also called The Whale, just like Gita's, because sometimes we write on a prompt and we all have different takes on the same prompt. So, whale. The whale lifts his head out of the water and splashes golden foam, teeth bared in a smile or surreal grimace, in memory of a grieving mother orca carrying her stillborn child for 14 days, as if to say to us, look what you've done, you people. I get the message and I spread it as far as the blessing of the whales will go. And this last one is about Oppenheimer Park. So, the picnic tables, painted pastel pink, are perched around the periphery of the park. People plunk themselves on the planks, pleasantly surprised. Oppenheimer Park is open again. The sunshine streams down on sunbathers soaking up sunlight. Sleeves are rolled up on shiny skin, and faces are seeking sun. People laugh and cry, and for a few instants, all is well with the world. It is wonderful to be alive and winging it, singing and sighing, sleeping and studying, sipping sustenance and savoring solitude. We are home here for a few good minutes. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Phoenix and Fire Writers. That was all really, really great stuff. Really enjoyable and instructive and enlightening. So the next group of writers to read is Downtown Eastside Writers Collective. Writers who've been meeting for at least a dozen years now. Downtown Eastside Writers Collective used to be Thursday's Writing Collective, was led by Ellie Gardner for 10 years and by Amber Dawn for a year. And then those people decided to move on, and some of us got together. We wanted to keep writing together, and so we formed Downtown Eastside Writers Collective. And a regular face at Downtown Eastside Writers Collective is Yano. And Yano's a scientist who's also an artist who writes really great stuff. And so I'd like to really welcome Yano to read for us.
I don't know how about you, but I really can't wait for the weekend to start. The smell of scrambled eggs for breakfast, I make them because I wake up first, and I like others to wake up to something nice. Yeah, it's a simple thing, but it means a lot to me. It makes me feel like I belong, like I can help. Some days I feel useless, but not Sundays. That's a useful day. I make use of my skills to make someone's day brighter. I also like to listen to people on Sundays. Other days feel fuzzy and distracted for listening. The buzzing world runs around me so loudly that I can't even hear my own thoughts. Not to speak about listening to others thinking. I wish there were fewer days like that. But now, this is what's here, and I flow with that. Thank you for coming here on this rainy evening in Vancouver. Some of you may be sitting on wooden chairs, so if it feels uncomfortable, but I hope this poem can make it a little bit easier and nicer. So just enjoy it. Wooden empty chairs. This is a story about being alone and being with others, driving with no purpose, sinking into the couch every night, ruminating about the past, about love. This is not about how to be happy, a recipe for success. There's no place like that. It's all in your head. This is a story about hard, empty wooden chairs waiting in the corner for some fine, tired butt to sit there and pause for a moment while the world chases its tail. The story is about, yes, it's about love and giving. Although it's hard to admit it, call it whatever you want, call it names that nobody else knows, only the ones they're made for, your lovers. It may look like this story is just useless, rambling, random thinking, free-flowing. This is not a story about boredom or chance, nor is it a story about memories and hopeful wishes. It's a story of now, of what holds us together. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Yano. The next person that's going to come up and read is Joan Morelli. And Joan was a member of Thursday's Writing Collective and has been a member of Downtown Eastside Writers since the beginning. I don't know how many of you know the stories about the Raymer mothers. Yeah. And the Raymer mothers were a group of mothers who lived down in Campbell Avenue area. And in order for their kids to go to school, they had to cross the railway tracks, which is kind of dangerous because there were a lot of big trains going back and forth on those tracks. And the mothers were demanding that the railway or the city or the government do something about that. And the railways promised, well, we won't run trains during those times, but they did anyway. So the mothers went and they sat on the railway tracks and stopped the trains from running. And what that made happen is it made the city or the government build an overpass over the railway so the kids could get to school safely. And Joan was a part of that group of mothers, and I'll never forget that. And I'm so happy and so pleased that Joan is a member of Downtown Eastside Writers Collective, and she's a master of the rhyming couplets, so prepare yourself for a treat. Come on up, Joan. We should get her a chair. Yeah.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
You don't have to do that. It's all been done.
So you'll hear people better when they have their masks down. I don't have a book with me, but I wrote something short, so I won't take all the time. And I was going to tell you this a little personal thing about what he said. they told us the police are coming, so some people went away. The police never did come. And so we stood, because we knew there was a train probably coming soon. We stood there and somebody said, "Oh, I'm getting a little bit afraid." And I said, "Don't worry. There's only two things that could happen. One, he won't stop, we'll live. Two, he won't stop, we'll be dead. But don't worry, because you don't have to make the decision. I don't, just them. They're going to make the decision." and when the driver stopped, he was very angry. He got out and he said, "You effing bitches should be home taking care of children." So I wanted to say, but I didn't. I wanted to say, well, that's what we're doing. We're here taking care of children so they won't get killed. So anyway, and then two men, big shots, came out, and they said, "We'll take one or two of your leaders into the office to talk." And I said, "But we don't have a leader, we're all leaders." So they were forced to take us all in. So now I'll continue with this little thing I wrote now. Favorite stores. I changed my mind about how to do it. Some years ago, my favorite stores were Eaton's and Woodward's. They have been closed down. Both should have been forever famous and forever names of renown. My current favorites include a store on Main Street, very close to my home, but now there's a sign, "For lease," outside. They have been there since 1906 and have always, being Italian, added to the cosmopolitan flavor of the city. Honest small businesses should be encouraged, allowed to flourish, leaving my writing. Their leaving is such a pity. Shopping online is not for me. It's like offering me a bus ticket when I need a transatlantic plane ride. Fortunately, though, some businesses will manage to survive and hopefully thrive. Oh, okay. So as long as I can see it, I guess I probably need more light because I don't have my reading glasses. Okay. It's funny, it's sort of like a shadow worm. Now I got it in the light. A dream for living. My dream is forever to share, to love and show we care. There is enough love, even some to spare. Laugh at us, whoever will dare. Shout at us, we won't turn a hair. Pain, sorrow, letdowns, we'll bear. We'll work together, here or there. Money can't buy happiness, but could ease the loads we share. If our work is not observed by those over there, doesn't mean that we'll stop being just and fair. Our dreams should be judged by being seen to be fair, following the path of courage we share. Take heart, never give up. We don't scare.
Okay, thank you so much, Joan. I just love your passion and the creativity you put in your work and the support you always bring to Downtown Eastside writers. You are such a valuable part of our community, and we love you. Okay, next person to read is Priscilla. And Priscilla's been active at Carnegie Community Centre for years and years and years, and was on the board for a really long time. But she's taking a bit of a break from that now, but she still writes, and she's here to share one of her poems. Thanks, Priscilla.
Hati, can you hear me? Hati, Denise, Takese, Soansin. How are you doing? Yeah. I want to thank Jill and the firefighters or the firelighters. Oh, firewriters in Jill's Thursday evening class or morning. Okay, whatever. I'm nervous. Oh, just joking. Okay. Recipe for honor. 2 cups of celebrating oneself. Remember, you are unique and have strengths others can see, though you may not. 1 cup of commemorating others through hugs or commending others through hugs or kind words. 3/4 cups of loving Mother Earth. She nurtures us as we are. Sprinkle 1/4 cup of commemorating those you love who have passed on. Send them your loving thoughts. Oh my goodness. I need reading glasses. No, that's okay. Sift and blend all ingredients with good intentions and sprinkle sparkles of tears and laughter. Finally, sit and enjoy with a cup of hot tea. Stay beautiful at heart and hug a tree. I just want to thank Jill, Ms. Sai, Snakelia, and I hope to see you at some of the events. We have a week and a half, okay? So, Snakelia.
Okay, thank you so much, Priscilla. I really appreciate that recipe. That was great. I want to say a little bit about this book that Yano read from and Joan read from. This is Continuum. It's the first collection of, a first anthology from Downtown Eastside Writers Collective, which we published last year. So it's just an anthology of about, 30 or 40 writers that have been writing with us over the last couple of years. And it's available here at the front. So our next reader is someone who's just recently joined our collective, and also writes another group that I'm working with at the Gathering Place. Chris has been writing with us just, I guess, today. Brand new guy at Downtown Eastside Writers Collective. So welcome, Chris, and would you like to come and read for us?
Hi, my name's Chris Marquis, and I've got a poem here. It's actually a kind of a modern edition of O Canada. Now, when I get to do it, you're probably going to think that, well, it's a little too optimistic and perhaps a little naive. However, just think of it like this. It's what we're aiming for, and personally, I think we're at least halfway there. So this is called O Canada. O Canada, we're proud to be a part of this great land. O Canada, it's plain to see, for love and peace we stand. Our nation great from sea to sea, our people are the best. From eastern lakes to high prairie and mountains in the west. Our monarchy with democracy gives each of us the liberty to live our lives and prosper too. O Canada, we're free with you. We come from all around the world and honor our First Nation. Together we can change the world to planet-wide emancipation. Thank you. Thank you. I was just getting back from being away for several decades, and I was it was a moment of great optimism for me, and so it just came to me on the first of July that I was back, and I think I actually wrote it on the 2nd of July, but it was the first that inspired me. Thank you very much, and I hope you'll read my book, which is called English Made Simple, starting with an I.
Okay, thank you very much. And wow, what a great crowd. I mean, this is I think the biggest crowd I've been in a year and a half, in 2 years. Wow, give yourselves a hand. I'm so happy to have you all here. This is, it's like we need to be together to feel human, and I am feeling very human tonight, so thank you so much. It's just great to have you all. I have a couple of poems that I want to read, both of them written in the last week, and one of them actually this morning, this one last week. This is called Who. Who are you? She asked, as if multiple roles were a betrayal. In this breath, I am president of Carnegie Community Centre Association, serving my community. In this next breath, I am activist member of Carnegie Community Action Project, making good trouble. In this breath, I'm coordinator of Downtown Eastside Writers Collective, learning and sharing and teaching with fellow writers. In this breath, I am CCCA, CCAP, writer, all of the above, hopefully conduit for communication and community. In this breath, I confess I'm a little bit ego, full of pride for what's become of me, happy with who and what I see compared to what I used to be. In this breath, I am all of it and none of it, for a moment of empty responsibility, a quiet minute with coffee. In this breath, I am, you are, we all are, heart of the city in Lost and Found Cafe, together in this Eastside community. In this breath, I am, you are, we are all creator. Universe is creator, bringing us to the next breath, connecting us to roots, earth, water, sun, moon, sky. In this breath, I am, you are, we are all Buddha, Cosmos is Buddha, compassion, knowledge, desire for enlightenment for all sentient being. In this breath, I am, you are, we all are, heart of the city of Gaia for a new green community, together connecting new stories, drawing new maps, creating equity. In this breath, I am empty, with no idea of who or what I am. A big zero Zen nothing. In every breath, I am gratitude, emerging from sobriety's enlightenment, thankful for every room, every role that blesses me with friends, inspires me to connect. Thank you. So this morning, I had a bit of a different kind of waking up. And every morning I write morning pages. I get up, I make my coffee, I turn on Sirius Jazz radio, and go up to my writing loft and do 3 pages of free writing. And this morning I didn't do that. Instead I wrote this, but it wrote itself pretty quick because free writing is off the top of my head as fast as I can. And this is what happened this morning. It's called Waking Up. Woke up in tears this morning. Woke up happy, grateful for waking up today. Woke up pleased, wanting to engage, to embrace the day. There were years when last thought of night was wish to never wake. Didn't have the balls to kill myself as I wished fervently something else would. I was so profoundly unhappy. First hour of committed sobriety, something shifted. Hatred, resentment, alcohol, depression, transformed to gratitude, transmuted to thanksgiving, changed to belief waking up could help self and others on this journey, one step, one day at a time. Goodbye to down sick fucking hangovers. I'll say it again. Goodbye to down sick fucking hangovers. Though it's been 34 years, full realization wakes me with a good cry. Appreciation, awareness, catalyzes engagement of heartfelt connection with heart of the city, insights harmony of heart and soul and mind and body of me, binds me to community. And as I write these last words, John Coltrane's "A Love Supreme" plays my radio. Okay, thank you very much. And so much of my writing, comes out from the inspiration from Downtown Eastside Writers Collective. So special heartfelt thanks to all of you in Downtown Eastside Writers Collective. And also a big, big heartfelt thanks to Phoenix and Fire Writers, with whom I also wrote for a while. And thank you. I just so much appreciate all the creativity and the creative people in this community. I mean, it's one day after another of total inspiration. Thank you. And let's see. Trying to remember who's coming up next here. I think Penny. Yeah, I think Penny's going to come and inspire us with some of Sandy Cameron's poetry. Sandy Cameron was a Downtown Eastside Writers who wrote a lot of really, really great stuff, and he unfortunately isn't with us. He was Gene Swanson's partner, and of course Gene continues to serve the community as a city councilor. And yeah, so here comes Penny to read some of Sandy's poems. So thank you so much, Penny.
This one, yes, the
short one. Thank you. It's a real honor to be asked to read some of Sandy's poems here. I published his book of poetry, Sparks from the Fire, in 2000. I knew him before then, and it's wonderful that his poetry still rings true in the downtown East Side. Maybe I won't come this way again. Morning sun is a rare pleasure, which calls me out to walk west on Pender Street to Clark, then north to Powell, and west to the fish dock past the BC Sugar Refinery. Being Sunday, the Marine View coffee shop is closed, but it's closed forever now. The Port of Vancouver has other plans. Seagulls swirl and cry in the bright sun over the Lions Gate fisheries, over the Marine View coffee shop, closed forever. Maybe I won't come this way again. Fishing boats rock in the slick water. Miss Amy, Polaris, New Venture, the Goddess, the Star, and the Journey are in these names. And the boats, like Zen temples, point to the door at the bottom of the garden, which opens slowly. The lions glisten with new snow. A small cloud touches Mount Seymour. The harbor sleeps in golden light. Where will the boats go when the dock is closed? Maybe I won't come this way again. The ice plant is already closed, and it won't reopen, ever. Try BC Ice and Cold Storage, a sign says brightly. Under the sign, there's a newspaper cartoon on a grimmer note, a prophecy, a cry for help, a picture of some people in a cage at the zoo. We know it's a zoo. The drawing makes that clear. And in the next cage is a giraffe. We can see his long neck and small head. Visitors are watching the people in the cage, and a sign on the cage door reads, "Riffraff." One of the ice plant workers has drawn an arrow to the caged people and written in pencil beneath the cartoon, "After the ice plant closes. Oh, my brother, oh, my sister, maybe I won't come this way again." Healing the community. On February the 14th, 1995, Valentine's Day, 100 people gathered at the Carnegie Centre to remember the women who had been murdered or died from drug overdoses in the downtown East Side. We burned sweetgrass, recited prayers, and wept for our sisters who had died alone. They are not alone today, Margaret Prevost said. Then we marched through the downtown East Side, leaving a red rose at the Sunrise Hotel, the Dodson, Pigeon Park, the alley behind the Balmoral, the Empress, and the Patricia. At each spot, Elder Harriet Nahani sang and wept for those who had died, and we chanted as we walked, "Work for change, stop the violence." At Oppenheimer Park, we stood in a circle of lighted candles in the presence of those who had died and heard the claim they made on us. In grieving together, we are strong. In the ability to grieve lies the power of prophecy, for that which is not what ought to be. Work for change. Stop the violence. If it were Sandy reading these poems, he'd have stories to tell in between them, but I'm just reading the actual poems. The Dominion Hotel. When I came to Vancouver in January 1965, I lived at the Dominion Hotel on the corner of Abbott and Water Streets. It was a quiet hotel, and the residents were retired loggers, miners, fishermen, and construction workers for the most part. They were the men who built the resource industries of British Columbia, and the Dominion Hotel was their home. Rent was $40 a month, and the well-run beer parlor was our living room. You could buy a 10-cent glass of beer in those days, and I would sit and listen to stories told so dramatically that trees would fall right by our table and fish would jump into our beer glasses. Gastown didn't exist at that time, and Woodward's at Hastings and Abbott was an important part of the downtown East Side, as it had been since 1903. In 1997, the Dominion Hotel became part of the gentrification that threatened the downtown East Side. Rents increased to $128 per night. Residents had lots to say about this threat to their homes. The problem is that there are no other areas where you can rent a place at this price on your own. One day they're going to come in here with a bunch of army trucks and ship us all out to the sticks like POWs. Sandy, as many of you know, nature was a very important part of his life, and these are a couple of poems about that. This one's called Endangered Species. Herons built 25 nests in 3 fir trees close to the aquarium at Stanley Park. A strange place to build a heron colony, but not so strange when you remember that herons are fast losing their homelands. Jean and I went to see the herons in early spring 1997, and the first thing we noticed was an eagle sitting in one of the nests. A few weeks later, we returned to the colony and saw herons on almost every nest. We also noticed many broken eggs at the bottom of the 3 trees. We didn't know how the eggs had fallen from the nests, and neither did the park officials when we phoned. The purpose of our 3rd visit was to see the baby herons, but the colony had been abandoned, not one heron to be seen. A park worker told us that the eagles had attacked the young herons, forcing the adults to move. He also cleared up the mystery of the broken eggs, saying that eagles had been stealing them. One generation of herons was eliminated at this place, an endangered species indeed. Yet eagles are an endangered species as well. Concrete and steel cover the earth, taking nature's place. Where will nature's creatures live in a man-made world? The downtown East Side, Vancouver's oldest neighborhood, is under siege, as those with much push out those with little, like the herons and the eagles. The residents of the community are becoming homeless. Not only are homes destroyed with gentrification, a circle of friends is destroyed, a neighborhood, a small world in itself, a world that people who are dispossessed cannot hope to rebuild. Citizens become refugees in their own land. They, too, are an endangered species. I'm going to end with a poem that I think is probably by now an anthem of the downtown East Side, but it's a poem that I love to read. It's a very important poem. It's called We Need a New Map. The map we inherited isn't any good. The old roads mislead, and the landscape keeps changing. People are confused and drift from place to place, clothes scorched by fire, eyes red with smoke. The old map tells us to look for gold in the city, so we go to the city and find the garbage dump. We need a new map with new roads and a new destination. Some people fear a new map, and they cling to the old one like flies to flypaper. But the old map leads to pepper spray, tear gas, gulags, death camps, and the end of the world. I don't have a new map, so I write stories. The stories draw lines, dig holes, and above all, remember. Let people know who we are. Tell them what happened to us, an old Mayan woman in Guatemala said. And in this harsh world, draw your breath in pain to tell my story, Hamlet said to Horatio. I seem not to speak the official language, the poet Adrienne Rich said, so she created an unofficial language, the language of the heart. Drawing a new map is like singing. Voice handler asked Loon why she talked so much, and Loon replied, well, sir, I'm not just talking to my own ears. The spirit beings tell me that they have no place to live. That's the reason I keep talking. Loons sing the sacred into the world and created a new map. Sing your song, friend. Tell your story. The map we inherited isn't any good. The old roads mislead. We need a new map. Thank you. Oh, sure. Hey, you. Yeah. Well, Sandy's books are out of print, unfortunately. I'm sort of starting to think about maybe we need a collected works of Sandy Cameron because, yeah, I think that's sort of my next thought, my next project.
What books did you read from?
This one, well, Sparks from the Fire mostly, which is a book that I published. The other one's one that Jean published called Being True to Ourselves, which is where the last poem that I read came from. But you even talk about that book. Okay, you're right. Okay, I'll leave you there.
Okay, thank you, Penny. Thank you so much. So our next performer, reader, poet, songwriter is Earle, and Earle Peach, and Earle has just recently published Questions to the Moon. I guess we all have questions for the moon. Hopefully, I don't know how much he answers us. I guess we'll find out when he reads and sings to us. I had the pleasure of being in a beautiful park for the launch of this book a couple of months ago, and it was a really, really great, wonderful event. And I just read a little bit from the back page here as an introduction to Earle. Says, when I think of Earle's memorable career and splendid body of work, I remember the famous Woody Guthrie quote about music and songwriting, where he says, "I am out to sing songs that will prove to you that this is your world, and that if it has hit you pretty hard and knocked you for a dozen loops, no matter what color, what size you are, how you're built, I'm out to sing the songs that make you take pride in yourself and in your work." Here in this book, you hold the beautiful evidence of a career devoted to healing, and devoted to healing through music, most of all. Reading Earle's song lyrics with his autobiographical commentaries, full of compassion for the underdog, full of friendly humility, full of love for life that never eludes life's hardships, I think what document could possibly exist that better exemplifies and illuminates what Woody meant. So, to have someone praise you and compare your work to Woody Guthrie, I think is pretty high praise, and you deserve it. You deserve it, Earle. So thank you, and let's hear what you have to offer us. Thank you so much.
Well, it's quite something to be here, As I identify so strongly with this community. So before I begin, I actually want to invoke some names of people I knew at the Carnegie Cabaret. And if you've been around Carnegie long enough, you probably remember some of them. Many of them have passed, some of them are still around. Harvey Bowers, who used to sing Put Another Log on the Fire. Conrad Eberle, whom I saw for the last time in a hospital in Prince George in a bed, fighting for his breath. And each breath focusing on bringing it in. He was dying from emphysema, and I said, I was stupid enough to say, "Conrad, how are you?" And he said, "Couldn't be better." Yeah. Charlie Mackey, who used to bring an auto harp to the cabaret. And just before the cabaret started, when everyone was running around, he'd bring the auto harp to me and say, "Earle, could you tune this for me?" Barbara Gudmanson, who is still out there, one of the most overwhelming singers of Janis Joplin I ever met. Yeah. And John Ryan, with whom she had many, many battles when I started doing the cabaret. I remember having them having a battle on either side of my head. And I went to the front desk shaking my hands like this, and they actually followed me on either side, still screaming at one another. Dave McConnell, Oh, such a beautiful heart and soul, a lovely, lovely man, and a great songwriter, blues player. And Tom Lewis, who, like so many, died alone in his hotel room. And many, many others. I remember their faces. I remember the songs they sang. They were... Oh, I have to mention Len Matthews, who used to help me put up the tables. And he was just... I don't know, he was like a cowboy without a horse. Anyway, so I'm going to read you something from this book. Hopefully, it'll be something about... Right. I'm going to read to you about Kathleen. I first saw Kathleen on the corner of Hastings and Main, outside Carnegie, raving at the passing traffic. She would actually step off the curb and wag her index finger at passing cars, lecturing them loudly, though I couldn't discern to what effect. Cars would slow down and gingerly weave around her where she stood, apostle-like in her didactic fury. I hadn't seen her around before. She gave me an impression, even in her psychosis, of education and middle-class upbringing, and also of not finding any connection to the community. This alone made her vulnerable, and of course, I was worried for her, but everyone in the downtown Eastside is more visibly vulnerable than the average Vancouverite, and you can only spare so much worry for people, so apart from the spectacle she made, I didn't think about her much. Then, one day at the beginning of the Tuesday Jam at the Carnegie Community Centre, she arrived to sign up. The way the jams worked was like this. You sign up for a time slot somewhere in the 2 hours the jam runs, and during your time slot, you choose what songs you want to perform, on what instrument, in which key and tempo, and with what other musicians playing. Everyone's name is drawn from a hat at the beginning, and each person is given the choice of when they want to sing or play, as opposed to simply going in consecutive order. All the players would watch like hawks as the names were drawn from the hat to make sure I wasn't cheating and unfairly favoring anyone. People were so possessive of this precious time that if there were more signers than slots, their names would go on the B list, which would be consulted at the beginning of the next jam before other names were drawn. There was also a singers list based on certain singers' perception that non-singers got more stage time. It was Byzantine. Into these complicated arrangements stepped Kathleen, distrustful and shy. She couldn't imagine why I wanted to write her name on a slip of paper, didn't make sense of the whole rigmarole, nearly walked out as I proceeded to call people's names. Fortunately, I pulled her name just before she did, and she understood when I told her what her time slot was. When the appointed time came, she walked over to one of the 2 pianos in the theater and began to pound it with open hands. After 5 minutes of this, I noticed some of the other players staring at me like they were expecting me to take some action to stop the incoherent noise. Guiltily, I rose, not knowing what I would do. I moved to the other piano, which was beside the one she was playing, with the idea of gaining her attention. But as soon as I sat down, her playing changed, becoming sparse, pointillistic, and delicate. I responded with a few notes on the second piano, and she stopped dead, listening. Without looking at me, she again began whacking the piano, clusters of notes jerking out of it like fish struggling in a net. I responded with clusters of my own, and for about half a minute, cacophony reigned. Again, she stopped. Again, she started the quiet, pointillistic playing, and again I reciprocated. This time she answered me, and we began a surreal conversation of notes, swirling around one another, sometimes frantic, sometimes searching, always without meter or melody. After 15 minutes, I told her the slot was over. Without a word, she stood up and walked out. It was one of the more exhilarating musical experiences I've ever had. Kathleen continued to come to the jams, and our musical conversations continued. One day, in the middle of a typical inchoate dialogue, she stopped, turned to the other musicians in the theater, and loudly proclaimed, "What is this blue goo?" They looked at each other uncertainly, but before any of them spoke, she turned on the piano bench and went back to the keyboard. Kathleen was befriended by Chris, a somewhat older Chinese man. They hung around together a lot, and apart from her, he expressed to me his concern for her. She seemed calmer when she was with him, made more eye contact, occasionally said something which seemed rational. Then I didn't see her for about 6 months. When I ran into her next, she was with Chris, who told me that she had decided to go back to Ontario to open a bookstore like the one she had run before her bout with psychosis. She agreed, seemed shy, but normal. She left soon after that. So now I'd like to invite Barbara to come up, and we're going to sing a couple of songs, and she's going to maybe read a song. So this is my lovely partner, Barbara, who actually, I want to say, the reason I was at the Carnegie Cabaret for 16 years is because of her, because she worked at Carnegie before I did, and she was a programmer and actually started the Carnegie Cabaret. Would you like to read first? Yeah.
Do you want me to read first? Okay. The cabaret was actually kind of happening, but I developed it, shall we say. Thank you. And I just wanted to also say that I'm really honored to be here tonight. I did have the pleasure of working at Carnegie when it first opened, and we were all so idealistic and happy to be able to really create this space for the people in the downtown Eastside. I also have had the pleasure occasionally to participate in the Heart of the City Festival, which is a wonderful event, and I'm happy I could be here for a little while tonight, so thank you.
I can't remember what I was going to get you to read.
I was going to read Unless You Cry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's find it. That's a good one. Oh, there it is.
So Earle suggested I read this tonight. I do some readings from the book.
She asked.
And so he suggested this one, and I must say that when I tried it this morning, I was channeling a person in the audience who I've heard read it so beautifully. I hope I can do it justice.
Yeah, and the person who took the photograph on the back of the book, by the way, who is sitting just over there, that's Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. Unless you cry. I want to talk to you about the way you feel, about the way you survive, the way you negotiate a way through a day. You want to make a difference in this life. So much to do, so little time. Everything hurts just a little bit, sometimes a lot. Sometimes so much you go running for the cover of the nearest habit that helps your mind relax, that lets you feel okay. Well, that's okay. But let me ask you, how are you going to change the world unless you change yourself? How are you going to change yourself unless you cry? Unless you cry.
unless you cry. The pain won't go away. It's waiting there. It can wait for you for a long, long time. You can live a life and die, and it will still be with you, just beyond the door of your self-control. Someday, you're going to open that door and say, come on in. Someday, you're going to finally say, I've had enough of this. Someday, you're going to hand your pain a knife and say, teach me to be myself. Give me that mirror so I can look at me. Tear off this mask so I can breathe. How are you going to change the world unless you change yourself? How are you going to change yourself unless you cry, unless you cry, unless you cry?
You just put it down over there. So Barbara and I also sing together as a duo called Songtree, and we do songs that I wrote as well. So we're going to do two of those. Both of them are in the book. And this is a song that began in a dream, which is one of the profound things for me about writing songs, that, you know, to some extent, you're responsible for bringing this thing that has nothing to do with you into the world. And so your job is to shepherd it and make sure it gets fed and so on. So I was having this dream about being in a lounge, and there was a couple singing, and they were singing the chorus, or I guess the refrain of this song. It's called Light on Black Water. Oh, don't you lose the will to live because the rivers led you wrong. You find yourself among the reeds and your suffering is strong. No memory nor hope can guide you now, but the moment that you're in, look for the light on black water. That's a place to begin. It has no name or character. It's never touched by an idea. It cannot blame or threaten you. It's not for worship nor for fear. But when the world is dust, it will still be there, shining like a pole star. When you see the light on black water, you will know where you are. And when that calm and golden light suffuses everything you know, you'll feel a river tug your heart, pulling you into its flow. For the current may pass through or around you, depending on your state of will. Go with the light on black water, it will teach you to be still. Go with the light on black water, it will teach you to be still. And I guess we're going to end with a song I wrote for Barbara's 73rd birthday.
We won't say how long ago that was.
When Barb awakens in the morning, shafts of sunlight come piercing through the gloom. 100 rainbows are adorning the glowing walls our sacred room. Outside our window, all the birds cry like navigators on their ships of green. And in our own boat, she and I lie, all entwined where troubles can't be seen. This is the answer to the question that you left hanging in the air. This is the meaning of it all. If not here, then nowhere. Sometimes I wonder where the dawn is when the night falls and colors disappear. It gets so hard to see beyond this sullen darkness around me and my dear. But we will travel with our compass, single-minded, peering through the dark. May indecision never stump us. May we sail past every question mark. This is the answer to the question that you left hanging in the air. This is the meaning of it all. If not here, then nowhere. If not here, then nowhere. If not here, then nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And if you notice the little kind of smile when we say, may indecisions never stump us, Earle first wrote that as Trump, and I said, I will not sing that. So we changed it to stump. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thanks so much to all our poets and to Earle for performing. This has just been a really great evening. That poem about crying reminded me a couple of weeks ago, the last really sunny Thursday and Friday that we had, I participated in a workshop at UBC Botanical Gardens with the David Suzuki organization and 100 other writers and artists and performers and actors. And what the foundation, David Suzuki Foundation, is trying to do is to bring together numbers of artists to talk about and write about and play about and paint about climate change, because they've discovered that just giving people the facts about climate change, the facts alone are not enough. So they've engaged 100 artists to try to communicate what's going on with our planet in a better way. And we had 4 or 5 different workshops with different people every day. And the poem about crying reminded me about a workshop we had with a woman who is a death doula. And she was there to counsel us about grief, because a lot of younger people, and us as older ones as well, are in grief about the state of the planet. And one of the things she said is that when we're grieving, we can't pretend to be anything other than who we are, because when we're grieving, we fall apart, and we have no choice but to fall apart. And it's good to fall apart and to grieve. And so thank you so much for that poem about crying. And because it reminds me, I got up crying this morning, and it's a good thing. It heals us. So pay attention to your grief and express it. Thank you all so much. It's been a great, very inspiring evening. Have a good night.